show. Hello, everybody. Today we are only with Sophie. We are trying to get Peter Milligan with us also, but he's a victim of Murphy's Law. So we are waiting for him to show up anytime. We never know where he might come up, but it's time to start, and we will start. So today we will talk about time, speed, and flowers, ruled or be ruled. Today is a very philosophical title, Sophie. It's really philosophical.
Yeah, I love the title. I love it.
It's
important. Important things.
It's important things because nowadays we really don't have time. Everything is very speedy, and we really don't have the possibility to smell the flowers. And are we being ruled or are we ruling? And we were just talking about a bit about stress, because stress is associated to this. And you were telling me that you were thinking about stress. What are your thoughts about stress and how this connects with time, speed, and flowers?
Yeah, well, I think sometimes we are like, it's because we are talking so much about stress. We are building up something which is like almost like a little bit like an air castle. It's not really real, because real stress, it's when something horrible is happening to us. And stress that we have lots of different things to do and lots of different options, that's not really stress. It's something else. I think we need to invent a new word for it. And then like yesterday, I did lots of different errands, and then I was really tired when I came back home. And I wouldn't say that I had a stress day. I just had lots of different things to do. And I think we need to, I would like to invent a new word for that and call it something else. And being busy is also, it doesn't really sound good. It's like a very negative connotation to say I'm so busy, because, you know, if you want to be very busy, you can be very busy, and you have choices to do what you want to put in your time.
You can be busy having fun.
Yeah.
So that's why I understand what you are saying. It's like you can have a lot of things doing at the same time, and but sometimes even people say they are stressed when they are having fun.
I know. Yeah, I know. And then also like lots of people who I know who are like maybe students, or they're preparing for like a big presentation at work, and they are so stressed. And you're like, but what did you expect to happen when you do these kind of things? We cannot live a life which is not pushing us to do things that are uncomfortable. And is that being stressed then or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why also another term appeared, that is procrastination. That people are like, okay, I will, let's say, avoid stress by delaying it.
Yeah, you know, procrastination is a very human thing, I think, to do. We shouldn't punish ourselves too much when we are procrastinating.
But we are talking about procrastination. We are talking about time. Is it the perception of time also changing? Do we have, let's say, in 2015, a different perception of time than 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago?
I would say that I think we have, because we are more aware about the options that are around us thanks to our connectivity. Like when I was growing up, where did I get information? It was like the radio, the TV, and
you had to wait 40 hours to get it.
Yeah, and then like I also remember when Lady Diana died, and the news source I got it from was the text TV. You know, on the TV when you turned on, and it was like the news on there, and that was the quickest way to get the news. And today, I think, yes, because we are more aware, we have all these kind of things around us, we get more stressed because of that information flow.
Yeah, because I think one of the important skills that you have to have in the 21st century is the ability to filter and assess information in a fast and relevant way. And this is something that should be studied in school. The other day I was in a conference, and there was one thing that one guy said that that was simple and but at the same time very very interesting. That people should learn in school. Kids should learn in school. Google operators. So how to make advanced search on Google. Because we have so much information that if we do the normal one, it will be complicated. By the way, finally, Peter managed to join us. I don't know if you can hear us. You are a little bit frozen, Peter.
Yeah, it's very cold where I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So we have sound from Peter. We already started. I explained that you were a victim of Murphy's Law. So we were talking about, by the way, you can contribute on this point. Is the perception of time, has the perception of time changed in the last years? What is your opinion? We already gave us ours, so you don't know, so you can say completely different things.
Perception of time. I don't know if it's a personal thing or a cultural thing. I think as we get older, our perception of time changes because each year goes faster. But I think because we're in a very fast culture and things are moving faster, I guess our perception of time is influenced by that as well. Yeah.
So we enter the second part, the speed. And I want to. Nowadays there is like two big trends. Is like the one that was coming from, I would say, from the 80s. That is the fast living, is the fast food, is the everything very fast, everything at the speed of light. And nowadays you see a lot of slow movement, like slow food, everything very slow, but it's still a minority, it's not the majority. But what do you think about this slow movement that is happening, Sophie?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting trend. I love it because when I was, say, 20 years ago, when I was a teenager, doing things slowly would not have been trendy. Today, I can go anywhere in London or almost anywhere in the world, and you will meet some kind of slow program. You know, it could be on TV, it could be in the shops, it could be at the conference. You know, we do things slow here. We are mindful. You know, I had an injury in my neck, and the physiotherapist, she suggested that I should do mindfulness to overcome my neck injury because it's muscular. And I think, you know, being slow, it's almost as being glamorous. So you can drink champagne in the evening, but the next day you do a morning yoga session. A friend of mine, she's just at a retreat. I think she's one of the leaders of the retreat in Ibiza. So people will do 20 yoga classes in 1 week, but they will also go out and have fun. So they're combining the energy of being in a glamorous place with being mindful for a week. And, you know, we see this all the time. It's like a trend. And I was in Norway a few weeks ago, and they had like a knitting program. Like people were knitting for like 10 hours, and people were the Norwegian television were broadcasting that for like 10 hours, people knitting, and they said, yeah, it's slow TV, it's very trendy. And I'm expecting like BBC to take after that trend and see what's happening. I think, you know, it's accepted to be slow, and also like lots of thoughts and the impressions that we get in the world. It's like you know, it takes time to digest them, so that's why we have to allow us to be slow, and that maybe that is what's happening. And then, you know, we love these kind of things, such as all the religious, what do you call it, like religious smartness, the smart part of the religions that we have in the world that allow us to be slow. We are talking about them quite a lot, I find.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Peter, do you want to add something to the slow movement? but do not do it very slow, okay?
Well, I talk fast like Sophie just did.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to add about the slow movement?
Well, I don't know a lot about the slow movement. I know about mindfulness and so on, and I guess it's related to that. Probably the best contribution I can make to this call is to share a book that I literally received last night called 4 Seconds by Peter Bregman. So it's all about the taking 4 seconds between the stimulus and response, if you like. Something that I've taught for years as well is that we react too quickly to things and we don't stop and consider the context and why we're doing something. And this whole move towards mindfulness, I think, is very timely because I think there's been a lot of reactive stuff going on. I'm still digging myself out of a hole that I got myself into back in 2007 by making decisions too quickly, and now I've been paying the price both financially and otherwise since then. And it's just a classic example of reacting too quickly to something in the interest of speed. So I think it's really, really important to not rush things. And that's not to say sometimes it isn't appropriate to move quickly, because I think it can be. But what he's advocating is to just stop and take a breath before you react to anything.
So in the way that is to make the decision of being ruled by circumstances or rule the circumstances.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, because the idea is that if you take a breath, you have the possibility to analyze all the implications of the decision that you are about to make, instead of making it because you have to make a decision, because you are pushed to make a decision immediately.
Yeah.
But on the other side, let me make myself devil advocate. We have more and more the idea that we have terrific gut feelings. So when we have like a gut feeling about something, we should follow our gut feeling, because that is our subconscious mind collected a lot of information that is not able to process in a kind of report. And when we have that gut feeling about something,
so here's the key. It's knowing the difference between the two. Knowing which is a kind of an intuition, a gut feeling that this is the right thing to do, and which is kind of a reactive, often driven by fear. And I think we have to be very self-aware to know the difference.
Mm-hmm. There is a thing about speed, and I would like to get your contribution also, is that nowadays there are even some authors that write books like work 2 hours a week and do the same as you would do like 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
I have been doing some experiments in that area that I would like to share with you guys after. But I would like to understand, is it really possible to, let's say, be more productive in 2 hours per day than working the 12 hours or 8 hours that people are like pushed to work in that speedy way? What do you think? What is your experience, even your personal experience?
Well, I can start. I just think that if you're working in a large organization, I think you can do so many things to make things more efficient. There are lots of unnecessary meetings, lots of unnecessary emails, lots of information that they don't really do anything with. Why even send it out? Working, if you're like entrepreneur and you work for a small business, I do think that you have to do work quite a lot of hours, but there are probably quite a few things you can automate. And we all live in a world where automation is driving change. Just like that we are broadcasting this now instead of meeting up and doing it together. It's just a way of automating our conversation. And getting things done, all these kind of books, you know, the 4-hour work week or anything like that, they can give you some really good hints and tips about how to do things a little bit differently. But at the same time, we are also the whole industry, especially in London, we have this enormous personal development industry where people are trying to tell us that you are stressed and you need to do this efficiently and you need to be more productive. And when I'm working with people and I see people, they're often confusing being productive and efficient with being creative, because being creative is not about being productive. It's not the same thing at all. And I'm a little bit against when people are pushing me and telling me that you should be stressed and you should be this and you should be that. I'm like, well, I'm not really sure. And that's also like before Peter came into the discussion, I said that I think we need to invent a new word for being busy, which doesn't sound so negative as being busy, because when you're busy, it doesn't mean that you're stressed.
Mm-hmm. Peter, what do you think about slow working?
Well, I'd like to get better at it myself. I'm not great at this. I work longer than I need to, and I'm not as effective. And the reason I'm attracted to this book, I think, is it's about learning how to focus and be very clear about what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think it's about quality of time, not the quantity. Sophie was talking about automating things. The danger with automation is that it becomes easy to churn more communication out, which is why people get so overwhelmed by email traffic, for example, and spend too much of their day processing emails, particularly in the corporate world. And I think it's about the quality and the temptation. When it's easy to churn stuff out, it's easy to feel like you're doing something useful. And I think we don't like being on the receiving end of that a lot of the time as well. So I'll give you an example. I currently am working with a couple of different coaches helping me, and one has, with her coaching process, has automated little reminders that come out every week. And I said to her, you know, I'm paying you quite a bit of money, and I don't find that I don't feel like I don't feel inclined to respond to that, because I know that's been generated by a computer rather than you. And I see it, and I just see it as other stuff that's coming from a computer, and I just ignore it. And this might be just me personally, but when I know that she sends me a message and it is actually personal because it relates to a conversation we've just had, I'll respond to it. So I think there is something about quality. I'm also having a terrible time communicating with the bank at the moment, and it's comical. You know, I want to have a conversation with someone around restructuring some debt, and I can't. All I get is automated letters coming out of a system the whole time, and I deeply, deeply resent that.
There is some thoughts about that, because I work for myself. Actually, I had some years ago I had a team that was working full-time with me, and interesting thing is that now I work less and better alone without a team. But I have, let's say, several teams. And when you are an entrepreneur, I think one of the biggest mistakes is to try to let's say, evaluate your success with indicators that are not the best. One is revenue and not profit. Another one is number of people working for you and not satisfaction. So it's so many times people have, and this is a kind of, I would say, primitive mind that we have, that more is better. So it's like when we were in the caves and we would see a big animal. Oh, good, we will eat a lot for many days. Many days, not many days, because it would go rotten. So, but it would be like, okay, we have meals for 3 or 4 days, and that was it.
Yeah.
And so we are still having this primitive mind that we don't look to these things. So even when we are very small in terms of structure, outsourcing is a great way of dealing in partnerships, because we manage to pass the work that we are really not good at it. And many times we see entrepreneurs that try to do everything because they want to not to have costs outside, but they don't see that when they are doing a trade-off between what they are really good at and things that they are not, that they will spend much more time and they will earn less money. And that is if you are an entrepreneur. And also, if you talk about being in a structure, I worked already in big companies, and there is a lot of I would say fake work. So people, let's say, demonstrating that they are working, and that those demonstrations are done by emails and meetings, like Peter and Sophie talked about. They are very important. You send an email to get answer, and you get back, and you know that you could do that in a 5 call, but you will do an email that will last 1 month, 2 months, back and forth. So you will have the proof that you are working. In big companies, there is like this big issue that you should prove that you are working instead of getting results. It's very important that you prove that something is being done. The results is another thing. You might manage those or not, but proving that you are doing, so you can say, I'm trying, but I'm not making because of this guy or this woman, whatever. And that is very, very important. And another thing that I think that is very important, being inside a company or being working to yourself, is doing a kind of off-body experience. Is you stop for a minute, those 4 seconds that Peter was talking, and you start analyzing what are you doing, and see, is this important?
Yeah.
What is relevant?
Yeah.
And many times you will figure out that this is stupid. And nowadays we even have the possibility of improving productivity in a very fast way. For instance, one small advice that I give to people in order to get better time is, why not, for instance, everybody uses, or most of us uses Office, Microsoft Office tools. And we do stuff that we know that there probably is another way to do it in a faster way, to do a table, to do some calculations, to do an index, things like this. And we know that there is something. And some years ago, we had to buy a book and try to find a solution in that book that would be very bad. But nowadays, you can go to YouTube and get a tutorial about it. And I see people getting tasks that they would take a whole day doing it. They do it in 5 minutes after a tutorial. 5 minutes, 1 day to 5 minutes, and this is like, again, you have to do this off-body experience and think, is there another way of doing this faster? Do I have to do it always like this? And you have to understand what you are doing. I give you an example from over here some years ago. This is a true story. One guy was hired to be a director of the agency over here in Portugal that issues the driver's license. And he was passing by, and he sees a woman that is looking to the license like this, okay, and to the screen and putting in one side. Another license, looking to the screen and passing. And he didn't understand what she was doing, and he asked her, what are you doing? And she explained, well, I'm checking if the printed license is a match with what is on the screen. So she was checking if if the printings were the same as what was in the screen.
Mm.
This was one of the stupid jobs that I ever heard about it. So imagine that every time that you would print something, you would look to the screen to see, is this letter the same? So this guy grabbed a pile of driver's license that were to be checked by her and put it on the other side, and she was like in panic because he messed with her work, because she didn't even start thinking about, is this logical?
Mm. Yeah.
It's a work.
Yeah.
Last thing that I would like to get from you guys, because as I told you, I have to. As I told you, no, Peter doesn't know, but I have a plane to catch, so it's we will have to stick it on half an hour. What do you think about multitasking?
Multitasking.
Multitasking,
Yeah.
because multitasking is connected with time, speed, and even
Flowers.
having smell the flowers at the same time. I see a lot of authors that say there is this new generation that is able to multitasking. We are the oldies, and of course, Sophie, you are a woman, so you are, of course, able to do multitasking. Do you agree with this, or do you disagree?
Yeah, I think there can be. I don't think you can have a conversation with someone and multitask at the same time. I do think that when I'm working, sometimes I can work on maybe 2 different things and concentrate right. When I really want to dig my whole being into something, I need to concentrate on that. And lots of people say that, you know, you shouldn't multitask, you shouldn't do this, and blah, blah, blah. And they're like part of this sort of get structured and organize your life movement, which I'm a little bit against. But, you know, I think, you know, sometimes you can multitask, but I don't think you can multitask a conversation. I am really, you know, I have a friend of mine who I might meet later this week. He's often really tired when we meet. And I always, you know, I want to tell him, you know, next time we meet, can you sleep before? Because his mind cannot concentrate on the meeting. And I don't really, you know, sometimes I get a feeling that I don't get that much out of him because of that. Not that I want a lot out of him, but I want intelligent discussions, and I think he's losing out of that because he tried to do too many things during the night, which, you know, it's maybe he has severe insomnia, I don't know. But, you know, sometimes it can work, and sometimes I don't think it can work at all.
Peter.
Yeah, I've heard a number of people saying recently that the research suggests that multitasking is a bit of a myth, because if you're focusing on 2 things, you're actually not focusing on either of them 100%, and therefore you're less efficient. So I think it is a little bit of a myth. If you're doing something that, like if you're, I don't know, doing something like washing the dishes, or, you know, preparing a meal in the kitchen, you can probably have the television on and listen to the news at the same time, because you're able to do that. But I think a lot of things, it's not appropriate, and certainly, as Sophie said, it certainly isn't with conversations. And I'm as guilty as anybody, trying to work while my son's trying to talk to me, and I know that's not good, and I know I don't appreciate it when other people do it to me. So I think we do have to be careful, and it is, like I said before, it's about quality, not quantity when it comes to communication. I remember once being in a meeting with an HR person. I was doing a piece of work, and the guy who sponsored the work, who'd brought me in to do the work, he came to have a meeting with us to get an update, and he walked in, and I would say the meeting was about an hour, and he was constantly distracted. He was looking at his BlackBerry, he was doing it, and I thought, you know what, I'd rather have 5 minutes with you that you're 100% there than 60 minutes where you're not, because it's just disrespectful, and it's not very effective.
Yeah, it's interesting that actually we have the same opinion, and but for me, one of the craziest things that I see is a lot of articles about Z generation or millennium or whatever or Y, that, oh, they are multitaskers. And that is so stupid, because the brain is exactly the same. We don't have the ability to do two meaningful tasks that are not programs, because when we are washing the dishes and watching TV at the same time, we are having a program that is washing the dishes. There is no added value to that, because we can walk and talk. It's not a problem. We can eat and talk. It's not a problem. Those are programs. But I see more and more articles in the human resources area of people that should understand human resources, and they are saying, well, these guys are multitaskers. And of course, women have been always multitaskers. And that is such BS. But it's creating a pressure on people that are entering the job market, and that you are multitaskers, so you can do several things at the same time.
Yeah.
And we are working more hours because we have to solve mistakes, our mistakes and mistakes of other people. We have these kind of things that we send emails and people only read one part of the email. It's the most frequent thing. So now you have to send emails like very small and with one topic, because if you send like 2 questions in the same email, you will get the answer 1.
Yeah. And I've done that. I've responded to something without reading it properly. So yeah, it's true.
And that is creating like a circle where you get less time. So the problem is that you get affected by this movement, even if you are conscious that there is no multitasking. So you are in a meeting, Peter, and you get a meeting of 60 minutes when the meeting should be of 5.
Yeah.
Why? Because there is somebody that is like, yeah. What did you say?
Yeah.
It's all time, because it's embedded in their heads that they have to be multitaskers, because it's cool to be multitasker, because it's like, okay, you are really, really good at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody said Outlook has a lot to answer for, because it puts meetings in half-hour chunks and hour chunks, and really sometimes a meeting that's 12 minutes long is appropriate.
Yeah. Guys, as I told you, time is out, and I would like to thank you very much for your sharing. And again, it's a nice experience to hear from you and to get some knowledge and some exchange of views, because we are kind of different people in some ways, but at the same time we are very equal. Okay, so guys, thank you very much, and see you in next hangout.
Yay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.